Okay, so what we're taking a look at here is the how I set up my Fortnite game. So this is very standard stuff. When you see the frame rates that you see me running at, and you wonder how is that even possible? He's running on a 12-year-old video card. I have an RTX 4060 and I get lower frame rate than that. What I'm going to show you is the exact settings that I use to do that. Every single one of my machines I set up the same way. So you're going to want to hit your escape key. Bam. You want to hit the little gear icon. Bam. Okay, so now we're in settings. So I play in full screen mode. Occasionally I will see circumstances where I need to be in windowed full screen, but I prefer full screen if possible. Um, if you're on anything less than like an RTX 3080 or something like that, and you're really shooting for top end frame rate, I would run in 1080p. Even if your monitor's like a 27-inch 1440, like if you're on like a 4080, 4090, 3080, something high end, maybe even a 2080 Ti, stuff like that, running it at like 1440, 4K, something like that might not be that big of a deal as far as a hit on frame rate. But on lower end cards, I would absolutely, 70, 60 class cards even, I would recommend running it at 1080. Um, you'd be better off to just be on a 1080 monitor, to have like a competitive, like the monitor that I'm running on right now, the actual display is an Asus 27-inch 1080p 240 hertz refresh rate monitor. So I would definitely recommend having if you want to play and be competitive, I would recommend having a competitive type monitor. They can be had for cheap on Craigslist. I think I picked this one up. I got a good deal, but I think I picked this one up for like 80 or $100 or something. Just straight up off Craigslist. It went up one day. I said, screw it. I want to mess with that. So next, you want to have Vsync turned off. If you do not turn Vsync off, you're going to only hit the maximum refresh rate of your monitor, which might not be that big of a deal if you're on something like this 280 hertz monitor. But most people aren't. Most people are going to be on like a 144 or lower. So you want to turn this off so that you can hit those 2, 3, 400 FPS frame rate numbers. This is the exact same thing. It's just the frame rate limiter. The only reason I would use a frame rate limiter on Fortnite would be if you're on a system that can't consistently hit a given frame rate. So let's say you're in a case where your system is, 1 minute it'll be at 240, the next it'll be down at like 120, then it's back up at, 280, then down to 200, then down to 190, then back up and down and up and down. And if you're having that type of issue, then you may want to look at limiting. Like let's say the highest number you consistently see is 120. You might want to limit it at 120, which will help eliminate some of the jerkiness. Usually I leave it at unlimited though. Most of the systems that I test now don't have that problem, so I don't usually mess with it anymore. But that's an option if you do. So this is your single most important option. This is what's going to get most people. It's most likely, unless your system is absolutely ancient, when you first load Fortnite, it's gonna default to DirectX 12. My guess is any video card like 2015 and newer, this is probably going to be the case. So it's got that, it's got DX11, and then it's got performance. You're going to want to run in performance mode. It's not going to look as pretty, but you're not going to have those really amazing looking graphics. But it's going to allow you the best possible frame rate. And that's the biggest thing. If you didn't do any of this other stuff, running it in performance mode is going to be the most important. So none of this is important for that. So when you put it in performance mode, it typically defaults to, I think, 0%. I don't think it's actually doing 0%. So this is basically running the game at a lower resolution than your monitor's resolution. Which is, it's the same effect as this. You can accomplish that with this, and it's not using any fancy upscaling from what I can tell, so it's not like if you set it to, let's say 30% and your monitor is 1080, it's going to like upscale and look like 1080. No, it'll look like you're running the game at like 720p on your 1080p monitor. So I always put it at 0, but I believe when it defaults to 0 for performance mode, it's actually at 100%. I usually, oh yeah, this is off because we're not DX12. This, I believe, will tank your frame rate if you run in DX12. It'll look pretty, but it will tank your frame rate. View distance you want on Epic, so that's what allows you to see stuff drawn really far out, which is going to be particularly useful if you're like, I don't know, trying to do sniping so you can see that somebody's even there. Because obviously, I think if you zoom in with the sniper rifle and they're there, you'll be able to see them even if you have this turned way down, but you won't be able to see that little tiny moving couple of dots on screen to tell that there's somebody there to then zoom in on if you don't have this set like this, I believe. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I suspect that's how that would work out. I turn the textures all the way down. This may or may not actually affect the frame rate that much at like low or medium or even high, but I turn it all the way down. I turn the meshes all the way down. Same thing. This may or may not affect it, but I haven't done enough testing to determine that, so I usually turn it down. I turn this off because, as you can see up in the corner, I have my own frame rate readout using Afterburner, and then obviously this is not relevant either. So, every single machine that I show testing with Fortnite is running at these settings. I do not do any sort of weird stuff with the video card drivers, any of the driver settings, none of that kind of stuff. There are a few things that people sometimes tell you to do there. I do not. I only do this. I only hit the frame rate I hit by using the actual in-game settings in Fortnite. The other thing worth mentioning that may affect it is typically, it's not always the case. It's probably 50-50 at this point because of the fact that I have a dedicated hardware test box, which is what I'm on right now. But quite often you will see me running on a fairly fresh Windows install. Actually, this is a fresh Windows install. I'm sorry. Even though this is my dedicated test box, I built this last week, so this is a week-old Windows install. So if nothing else works, you may want to take a look at doing a fresh Windows install just to get everything freshened up. So that's an option as well, and then you reload everything, and it might help you a bit. That would probably help you more with like unexpected stutters and stuff like that. But anyway, I hope you guys find this interesting, and I hope it gives you an insight into when you wonder, hey, how's it possible for him to hit those frame rates? This is how I do it, and from now on, this is the video I will be referring people to show how I do it. So thanks for watching the video.